It had happened when I was 10 or 11 years old. I had decided to learn to swim. There was a pool at the YCMA in the Yakima River that offered the opportunity. The Yakima River was dangerous. Mother continually warned me against it, and kept fresh in my mind the details of each drowning in the river. But the YCMA pool was safe. It was only 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end, but it was 9 feet deep at the other end. I got a pair of water wings and went to the pool. I hated to walk naked into it and show my thin legs. But I overcame my pride and did it. From the beginning, however, I had a dislike to the water. This started when I was 3 or 4 years old, and Father took me to the beach in California. He and I stood together in the surf. I hung on to him, yet the waves knocked me down and swept over me. I was buried in water. My breath was gone. I was frightened. Father laughed. But there was a terror in my heart at the force of the waves. My introduction to the YCMA swimming pool brought back unpleasant memories and aroused childish fears. But in a little while, I gathered confidence. I paddled with my new water wings, watching the other boys and trying to learn by copying them. I did this 2 or 3 times on different days, and was just beginning to feel at ease in the water when the misadventure happened. I went to the pool when no one else was there. The place was quiet. The water was still. I sat on the side of the pool to wait for others. Then came a big boy, probably 18 years old. He had thick hairs on his chest. His legs and arms had rippling muscles. He yelled, "Hi, skinny. How'd you like to be ducked?" He picked me up and threw me into the deep end. On the way down, I planned. When my feet will hit the bottom, I would make a big jump and come to the surface. Then, I would lie flat on the water and paddle to the edge of the pool. It seemed a long way down. Those 9 feet were more like 90, and before I touched bottom, my lungs were ready to burst. When I reached the bottom, I used all my strength and jumped. I imagined that I would come up to the surface in a second. Instead, I came up slowly. I opened my eyes and saw nothing but water. Water that had a dirty yellow color to it. I got scared. I was suffocating. I tried to cry, but no sound came out. Then my eyes and nose came out of the water, but not my mouth. I moved at the surface of water. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead. I started going down, back to the bottom of the pool. My lungs ached, my heart beat fastly, and I felt dizzy. But I remembered the strategy. I would jump from the bottom and come on the surface. Then, I would lie flat on the water and get to the edge of the pool. I went down, endlessly. I opened my eyes. Nothing but water, with a yellow dark glow. And then, terror seized me. Terror that knows no understanding. Terror that knows no control. Terror that no one can understand who hasn't experienced it. I was crying underwater. I was paralyzed underwater, stiff, rigid with fear. Even my screams were frozen. Only my heart and the throbbing in my head said, I was alive. And then, in the midst of the terror, came a touch of sense. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. At last, I felt tiles under me. I jumped with everything I had, but the jump made no difference. The water was still around me. Complete terror took an even deeper hold on me. My arms wouldn't move. My legs wouldn't move. I tried to call for help, to call for Mother. Nothing happened. And then, strangely, there was light. I was coming out of the water. At least my eyes were. My nose was almost out too. but similar to the first time, my mouth didn't come out. I started going down again. I sucked for air, but got water. Now, I was tired. The yellow light was disappearing. Then all effort was completed. I relaxed. Even my legs felt limp, and a blackness swept over my brain. It wiped out fear. It wiped out terror. No more panic. It was quiet and peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. It is nice to be drowsy, to go to sleep. No need to jump. Too tired to jump. It's nice to float in space. Now, I must go to sleep. I crossed to unconsciousness, and the curtain of my life fell. The next I remember, I was lying on my stomach beside the pool, vomiting. The chap who threw me was saying,
"But I was only fooling."
The kid nearly died. Be all right now. Let's carry him to the locker room.
Several hours later, I walked home. I was weak and trembling. I shook and cried when I lay on bed. I couldn't eat that night. For days, a haunting fear was in my heart. The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees, and sick to my stomach. I never went back to the pool. I feared water. I avoided it whenever I could. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of Cascades, I wanted to get into them.
Cascade means waterfall.
And whenever I did, whether I was walking in the Tieton or Bumping River, or bathing in warm lake of the Goat Rocks, the terror that had seized in the pool would come back. It would take control of me completely. My legs would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab my heart. This handicap stayed with me as years rolled by. Whenever I went on fishing, the haunting fear followed me. It destroyed my fishing trips, deprived me of the joy of canoeing, boating, and swimming. Finally, one October, I decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week, an hour each day. The instructor put a belt around me and attached a rope to it. The rope went through a cable above, and the other end of the rope was held by him. We went back and forth across the pool, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. On each trip, a bit of panic seized me. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under, some of the old terror returned. After 3 months, the tension began to reduce. Then, he taught me to put my face under water and exhale, and then raise nose above and inhale. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times. Bit by bit, the panic reduced. Next, he held me at the side of the pool, and had me kick my legs in the water. For weeks, I just did that. At first, my legs refused to work. But they gradually relaxed, and finally I could command them. Thus, piece by piece, he built a swimmer. At last, he put all the pieces to a whole. In April, he said,
"Now, you can swim. Dive off, and swim the length of the pool, crawl stroke."
I did. The instructor finished. But I was not finished. I still wondered if the terror would return. If I am alone in the pool. I tried it. I swam the length. Tiny signs of the terror would return. But now, I could say to the terror, trying to scare me, "Eh? Well, here's to you. Look." And then, I'd go for another length of the pool. This went on until July. But I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all the terror had left. So, I went to Lake Wentworth, dived at Triggs Island, 2 miles across the lake, and reached Stamback Island. Only once did the terror return. When I was at the middle of the lake, I put my face under, and saw nothing but bottomless water. The old sensation returned in miniature. I laughed and said, "Well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me?" It fled, and I swam on. Yet I had doubts left. I went to the high grassland by the side of Warm Lake, and camped there. The next morning, I took off clothes, dived into the lake, and swam across to the other shore, and back, just as Doug Corcoran used to do. I had conquered my fear of water. The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate.
Stark terror means extreme terror.
In death there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. As Roosevelt knew when he said, "All we have to fear is fear itself." As I had experienced both, the sensation of dying, and the terror the fear of dying can produce, the will to live somehow grew. At last, I felt released. Free to walk the trails, and climb the peaks, and to set aside fear.